Chinese Mythology by Sandra Giddens and Owen Giddens. Chapter 4. The Teaching Myths. Myths that are used to comprehend the incomprehensible provide a sense of security in society. Societies like to have meaningful stories to understand the hows and whys of life. Myths establish a culture's customs, rituals, laws, social structures, power hierarchies, territorial claims, arts and crafts, holidays, and other reoccurring events. They contribute to the understanding of true love and balance, self-sacrifice, and they encourage good deeds and warn against sin, rebellion, and oppression. Myths are not only there to explain why Earth and people exist, but also to teach people how they should live their lives. Myths present guidelines for living. The Chinese culture is both reflective and introspective. It is important for the Chinese people to understand their own actions and to look beyond the surface of a situation to discover the deeper meaning. The Chinese teaching myths include behavioral and psychological situations to educate people about value judgments and the reasons why they should follow certain paths. The following Chinese myth teaches people to look for multiple levels of meanings in any given situation. The foolish old man removes the mountains. A foolish old man of 90 years of age had began to dig and try to remove the Tiahang and Wangu mountains of China. He lived behind these mountains and was unhappy that they blocked his passageway. The wise old man at the river bend came to stop him. He laughed at the foolish old man and said, "How unwise are you? At your age and with your energy, you can't even move one hair on the mountain, let alone so much earth and so many rocks." The foolish old man heaved a long sigh and responded, "You are so conceited that you are blind to reason. Even a widow and a child know better than you do. When I die, there will be my sons who will have their sons and grandsons. Those grandsons will have their sons and grandsons, and so on to infinity, but the mountain will not grow. Why is it so impossible to level them?" The wise old man was speechless. Moved by the determination of the foolish old man, the heavenly God had the mountains moved, one east of one east of Shua, and the other south of Yong. After this, there were no more mountains between Jizhu and Han River, and the Han River. Claude Lévi-Strauss, a French anthropologist, regards myth as a code of communication similar to language and music. He sees that music is made up of individual parts like notes, and when combined with sound, you have an orchestral piece. With myths, he sees that they are the sum of their individual parts, so that each part of the myth, including symbols and rituals, reflect the whole. He sees that myths grow as they are told, but the structure of the myth does not grow. When trying to comprehend an ancient myth such as the foolish old man removes the mountain, you can interpret meanings on many levels. First, on the more practical level, there appears to be a need to explain why two mountains in China are located where they are. Chinese people were intrigued with how and where the mountains, rivers, and lakes were formed. Many of their myths dealt with how their physical surroundings came to be. Second, the foolish man proved to be quite the opposite and was rewarded for his logic. Third, as a teaching myth, this story allows the culture to go beyond the surface and think that there are no obstacles that cannot be overcome. Finally, if we look at this myth in this modern age, we can understand that through natural disasters, pollution, modern machinery and weaponry, and a mountain can indeed be removed. Myths like the following ones try to illustrate fatalism, reincarnation, and principles for day-to-day living. They tie into Chinese culture and religion in an attempt to teach people that what they do in their present life can and will affect their afterlife. Myths may reveal the fate of the person after death or the reason for a crisis or a miracle. The myth of the moon. People of ancient times said that there was a bay tree and a toad on the moon. Some strange books even said that the bay tree was 5,000 feet tall, and that under it there was a man chopping at it at all times. However, the tree healed itself immediately after each cut. This man, who came from Jihe, bore the name of Hu Huang or Wu Gang. He had done something wrong while learning to become an immortal, and as a punishment he was made to chop the lifelong tree on the moon. The first silkworm. A father had to leave home and had to leave his daughter and horse behind. The dutiful daughter took painstaking care of the horse and one day struck up a conversation with the horse and jokingly said, "If you could bring home my father, I would marry you." After hearing this request, the horse quickly ran away and went looking for the girl's father. When finding him, the horse neighed, looking sad. The father felt that maybe something terrible might have happened to his daughter and returned home. The father did not know of his daughter's bargain with the horse. The man fed and took good care of the horse, but the horse did not want to eat. Instead, he looked longingly at the daughter. The father wanted an explanation, and the daughter finally told him the promise she made to the horse. The father was very angry and said that it was impossible for a human being and an animal to wed. And in a fit of rage, he took his bow and arrow and shot the horse dead. He then lay the skin out in the sun to dry. One day, the daughter and her friends were playing outside near the hide of the horse. Suddenly, the hide jumped up from the ground, wrapped itself tightly around the girl, and disappeared with her. A few days later, the father found his daughter in a mulberry tree. She was wrapped up in the horse hide and had become a silkworm, spinning silk in the tree. The role of the teaching myths. The teaching myths satisfy the Chinese culture's need to understand its place in the natural world. The myth of the silkworm was very important to Chinese culture, as the production of silk was and continues to be a huge industry. The production of silk has been practiced in China for thousands of years, maybe even since 7000 BC. The Silk Road was an ancient route that traders traveled to carry goods, including silk, from China to the west. The road stretched approximately 4,000 miles from Ji on to the Mediterranean Sea. It is easy to see how the most important elements of Chinese society were incorporated into its most prevalent teaching myths. The myth also reflects the animistic world view in which everything is seen as alive, including the land, even down to individual rocks. It shows that respect needs to be given to all things as well. Animists believe that objects in nature have souls. Some souls are powerful, and some are considered weak. That was the end of Chapter 4, The Teaching Myths. Chinese Mythology by Sandra Giddens and Owen Giddens. Read by Isaiah Harrell.